Bava Batra 16b Daf Yomi. Just at the bottom of 16a, we were saying that it was the Talmud was saying that talking about different things in the book of Job, verses, analyzing verses in the book of Job. It says, "Do you know when the wild goats of the rock give birth? Can you mark when the hinds do calve? Hayadata ace lettuce yale sela cholel ayalos tishmor." This goat is cruel to her young and shows them no pity. That's the bottom of 16a. When she squats, now 16b, to give birth, she ascends to the top of a mountain so that the kid should fall down from her and die. I didn't know that. Do wild goats do that? "And I summon her an eagle that receives it with its wings and places it before her. And if the eagle reached her 1 moment early or was 1 moment late, the kid would immediately die. Now, if I do not confuse 1 moment with another moment, would I confuse Eov with Oyev? An eagle saves a goat? Is that true? Is that biologically? Is that a fact? Like National Geographic, when mountain goats are born, an eagle saves it? Maybe. Okay. Similarly, can you mark when hinds do calve? Chol ayalo tishmor, ayala zurach matzar. Job 39:1. The womb of this hind is narrow, which makes it a difficult delivery. When she squats to give birth, I summon her a snake, drakon. Ani mazmin la drakon. A snake that bites her at the opening of the womb. Ouch. Which then becomes loose, and then she gives birth. Does that really happen? I never knew these things. "And if the snake reached her 1 moment early or was one moment late, she would immediately die. Now, if I do not confuse 1 moment with another moment, would I confuse Eov with Oyev?" The Gemara comments, on the one hand, the text states Job has spoken without knowledge, and his words were without wisdom. Job 34:35. But on the other hand, is written with regard to Job's friends, "You have not spoken of me the thing that is right, like my servant Job." Job 42:8. Rava said, from here, it may be inferred that a person is not held responsible for what he says when he is in distress. Although Job uttered certain words that were wrong and inappropriate, he was not punished for them because he said them at a time of pain and hardship. The verse states, "And Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him. They came every one from his own place, Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him." Job 2:11. What does "they had made an appointment together" mean? Rav says, this phrase teaches that they all entered through one gate at the same time. And a sage taught in a Braita there were 300 parasangs between each and every one of them. In other words, each one lived 300 parasangs away from the other. The Gemara asks, how did they all know at the same time what had happened to Job, so that the 3 of them came together? There are those who say that they each had a crown, which displayed certain signs when something happened to one of the others, and there are those who say they each had trees, and when the trees withered, they knew that sorrow has visited one of them. Rava said That his closeness between Job and his friends explains the adage that people say either a friend like the friend of Job or death. If a person lacks close friends, he is better off dead. The Gemara cites another place where Job is mentioned. It came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born to them, Genesis 6:1. Rabbi Yochanan says Larov means that propagation, Rabbi came to the world through these daughters. Reish Lakish says strife, Merivah, came to the world. Once daughters were born, the men began to fight amongst themselves over them. Reish Lakish said to Rabbi Yochanan, according to you, who say that due to the daughters' propagation came to the world, for what reason were the number of Job's daughters not doubled, when at the end of the story God doubled everything that Job had lost? See Job 1:3, 42:12. Rabbi Yochanan said to him, granted, the numbers of Job's daughters were not doubled in name, meaning they did not become twice as many, but they were doubled in beauty, as it is written, he also had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he called the name of the first Yamima, or Jemima in English, and the name of the second was Katzia, and the name of the third was Karen Hafuch. Karen Hafuch, Job 42:13. All 3 names relate to the daughter's beauty. Yamima, in her beauty, she was similar to the day, Yom. Yamima. Katzia, her scent wafted like cassia, Katzia, like one of the Ketorah, the spices. Katzia. Karen Hafuch, in the school of Rav Shila, they say she was similar to the horn of a keresh, and animals whose horns are particularly beautiful. They laughed at this in the West. Eretz Yisrael, since it is considered a blemish when a person resembles the horn of a keresh. Rather, Rav Chizda said she was like garden saffron, Karakuma derishka, which is the best of its kind. Karen refers to a garden, and Puch means ornament, as it is stated, though you enlarge your eyes with paint, with Puch, you beautify yourself in vain, Jeremiah 4:30. It is reported that a daughter was born to Rabbi Shimon, son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and he was upset that he did not have a son. His father said to him, propagation has come to the world through the birth of a daughter. Bar Kapara said to Rabbi Shimon, your father has consoled you with meaningless consolation, as it is taught in Braita. The world cannot endure without males and females, as both are needed for the perpetuation of humanity. But fortunate is he whose children are males, and woe to him whose children are females. Okay? I'm just reading this. This is not, I don't confirm or deny. I'm just saying, reading the Talmud. I have to make these disclaimers every now and then because it doesn't mean that I agree with it. It is not willful to have a daughter as a child. It's good to have whatever God gives you. So that's my own opinion, but I'm reading what the Talmud says. Similarly, the world cannot endure without either spice dealer, spice dealer, whose wares are sweet-smelling, or a tanner, a borsi, who's engaged in a foul-smelling occupation. Fortunate is he whose occupation is a spice seller. Very nice. Ashrei mi she'umanato busmi. That's the reason why I'm saying is because that's my job. I work in spices. I work in the realm of spices. You like spices? You want to buy some spices? Yeah, spices. I'm dealing in spices. It's the truth, I do deal in spices. Realm of spices. Realm of spices. Edwin said realm of spices. Okay. Fortunate is one whose occupation is a spice seller, and woe to him whose occupation is a tanner. The Gemara comments that this disagreement is parallel to a dispute between Tanaim. The Torah states, and the Lord blessed Abraham with everything. Bakol, Genesis 24:1. And the sages disagree about what Bakol means. Rabbi Meir says the blessing is that he did not have a daughter. Rabbi Yehuda says, on the contrary, the blessing was that he had a daughter. Others say Abraham had a daughter and her name was Bakol. Rabbi Elazar Hamodai says, Abraham, our forefather, was so knowledgeable in astrology, itstagninut, that all the kings of the east and the west would come early to his door due to his wisdom. This is the blessing of Bakol, that he possessed knowledge that everybody needed. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says, a precious stone hung around the neck of Abraham, our forefather. Any sick person who looked at it would immediately be healed. When Abraham, our forefather, died, the Holy One, blessed be He, hung the stone from the sphere of the sun, which, from that point on, brought healing to the sick. Abaye said, this explains the adage that people say, as the day progresses, sickness is lifted. Alternatively, what is the blessing of Bakol? That Esau did not rebel in Abraham's lifetime. That is to say, as long as Abraham lived, Esau did not sin. Alternatively, the blessing of Bakol is that Ishmael repented in Avram's lifetime. The Gemara explains from where do we derive that Esau did not rebel in Abraham's lifetime. As it is written, Jacob was cooking a stew, and Esau came from the field and was faint. Genesis 25:29. And the Batra taught, on that day Abraham our forefather passed away, and Jacob our forefather prepared a lentil stew to comfort Isaac his father, as it was customary to serve mourners lentil stew. Nizid Adashim. Okay. Weiter. Lentil stew. Okay. The Gemara explains, and what is different about lentils, that they are in particular are the fare customarily observed to mourners. They say in the West, Eretz Yisrael, in the name of Rabba Bar Mari, just as this lentil has no mouth, in other words, it does not have a crack like other legumes, so too a mourner has no mouth, that is, in his anguish prevents him from speaking. Alternatively, just as this lentil is completely round, so too mourning comes around to the inhabitants of the world. The Gemara asks, what is the practical difference between the two explanations? The Gemara answers, there is a practical difference between them with regard to whether it is appropriate to console a mourner with eggs, which have no opening but are not completely round. Rabbi Yochanan says the wicked Asaph committed 5 transgressions on the day that Abraham died. He engaged in sexual intercourse with a betrothed maiden. He killed a person. He denied the principle of God's existence. He denied resurrection of the dead. And he despised the birthright. The Gemara cites proofs to support these charges. He engaged in sexual intercourse with a betrothed maiden, as it is written here, and Asaph came in from the field. And it is written there with regard to the rape of the betrothed maiden, for he found her in a field. Deuteronomy 22:27. Wow. He killed a person, as it is written here, and he was faint. V'hu ayef, and it was written there, woe is me, for my soul faints before the slayers. And he denied the principle of God's existence, as is written here, What profit is this to me? Genesis 25:32. Oina li. Oh no. Lama zeli. Okay. And it is written there, this is my God, and I will glorify him. Exodus 15:2. Ze eli b'aveu. When he questioned the prophet of this, he was challenging the assertion that this is my God. And he denied the resurrection of the dead, as it is written, behold, I am at the point of death. Genesis 25:32, indicating that he did not believe in the resurrection of after death. And he despised his birthright, as it is written, and Esau despised his birthright. Genesis 25:34. Okay? How are we doing on time? You might have to do. Let's do part 2. Let's do part 2. Yeah.